welcome to our latest episode of I've Heard It Both Ways.
It's
Today,
been a while,
it has been a while. We apologize, but you know what? We have lives.
and we have been
Me?
burnt out
Yes, we
a
we
little
have.
bit.
We might have to replay that episode again
Yeah.
sometime.
Yep.
Yeah, but we're glad that we're back together, and today we're talking about children and education. So here's my question: what do you want to talk about? No, I have some better questions. So, what are some things that you do in your families to help encourage education?
Crickets.
No, I'll start. So, when I was contemplating getting a master's degree, I've had a couple of friends that said something like, because I was debating, I said, my kids are little. I want to be at home with them. I don't want them to feel neglected or, like they don't have a mom. So, I was kind of working through some stuff and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. But I also really wanted to get a master's degree. So I had a couple of friends that I talked to, one of them, and really kind of what I was told was, well, think about your kids seeing you do a master's degree, get a master's degree, and go through that whole thing like, oh, I have to study, I have homework, I have all these things that I need to do for school. And think about the impact that that would have on them, maybe not in the moment, but maybe later on, thinking and remembering, oh, my mom got a master's degree later on in life, and, it worked out. And, so my point is maybe one way to instill that desire for education would be by example.
That's
Yeah.
great. I really like that.
Yeah.
And the key then is to make sure to be a good example, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to, if you're always complaining about school, then it's
Yep.
not going to do it. And also, if your kids think that education comes before them, that
hmm
could create a problem. But Maria, you did a great job when you were in school.
Thank
You
you.
did.
Why are you complimenting me? Stop it.
Okay, I won't. But anyway, somebody that I know who went back to school to get a master's degree did a really good job of balancing her work and personal life and family
I
life.
actually think that person was like sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night.
That could have been the case, and that person might still be sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night. We don't know.
Maybe.
That's awesome. Juan, do you have anything you
I've
want to add?
had I've had similar conversations with people as I contemplate kind
Say
of
it, say it, say it, say it.
doctorate degree. I don't know if I want that at all.
Woo!
Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But the
Let's do it
same
together,
thing.
Juan. I'm applying.
Oh, okay. Talk to me after the podcast.
Okay.
Um, but I've had people mention similar things like just think about the best gift that you can give your kids is that um having them watch you go through a program like that, right? And having an example of somebody who, seeks education. I think for me, I was thinking about this today. Um, I I've always, ever since I was young, I've always thought about each generation in my family, improving from one to the next. And obviously, success depends on who talks about it, right? But I was thinking, as far back as my grandparents, right? Every generation since then, things have improved for the next generation. Opportunities that I had growing up were some that my parents didn't have, right? The level of education that I have is something that my parents didn't have. And now when I look at my daughters, I think the same thing. Like, it's not pressure, but it's you have an example, something to aspire to be like if that's what you want. So I think showing an example of seeking education is important. And I think I also like what you said, Ben, where maybe we shouldn't complain about homework or complain about work. And we do it anyway. I do it all the time. But kids notice those things though. I'm not saying it's wrong, but we should watch what we say.
Yeah, for
At the
sure.
same time, sorry.
Yeah,
No,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
At the same time, I think it's important for them to see that this is hard for us too.
It is,
Right?
yeah.
Not complain about having homework, but kind of saying like, oh, it's a little hard for me to do homework right now, right? It's
Yeah,
important to
yeah,
be realistic and to see that
yeah,
and see how we overcome the
right.
hard times, the hard things about,
Yeah,
being in
hmm
school and working hard, and that it's
yeah.
possible, right?
I
and it's
agree
not
with that.
about complaining one time. That's the problem. It's constant complaining that becomes
Yeah,
the problem,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Otherwise, it's a teaching and learning experience.
Yeah.
But Juan, going back to what you were saying, so
hmm
maybe you shouldn't get a doctorate so that way your kids can one up you and
I
keep.
know, because how
I know,
else would
right? Yeah, maybe I should just stay there and say,
I mean,
okay,
if you
now
get
you
a
have.
doctorate, then they're going to have to get two.
Yes, they would. They would have to be president or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
astronaut.
doctorate is that high. And let's
Yeah,
just be fair. Let's just say this right now. Getting an education is an important thing for everyone. Getting degrees is not necessarily the path or for everything. And if you have a
right,
degree, it makes you no better than people who don't have degrees. The
right.
thing that defines us is who we are, but education can help us become better people.
I just look at, I agree with you. You don't have to go to college if you don't want to. But I look at my life and I look at the opportunities that I've had because of the education that I received. If I didn't have it, maybe I wouldn't have the opportunities that I have today. Maybe I would have other ones that may be just as good.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone's a little bit different. So yeah, we should probably make that distinction that,
Well, and like trade schools are awesome, and that's
yes,
further education, right? I
yes,
mean, you can make a lot of money if you go to a trade school to become a plumber or an electrician.
yeah,
So, I mean, there's lots of different things. You can go and get certified to be a massage therapist. You can get
yep,
certified to be a phlebotomist. So there's all these different things, and I think it's important that when we talk to our kids, we tell them about the importance of education, but also make sure that they know the wide range of
right.
options
It
and
can
the
come,
consequences for those options.
yeah,
And I think something that goes along with that is I don't know if you have noticed, or maybe, I don't know. I have noticed, but it might not necessarily be true. But it seems like, especially with my kids or my oldest generation, they kind of want to understand the why behind why they're asked to do certain things or why they have to do certain things. So maybe focusing on that, kind of like the why of why we may want to seek higher education or may want to go to a trade school or whatever the decision is.
I,
Just kind of explaining this is why we're doing this, and if this works for you, go for it and do it. If it doesn't work for you, let's find something else.
right. I lost my thought. I was gonna say it's dealing with their kids. It's kind of twofold, right? Helping them see the benefits of getting education, while at the same time, like what Ben was saying, is explaining that college, the traditional route, may be appropriate for some, but not for everyone, right? What's important, I think we can all agree, whether you agree that college is the way to go or not, is that it's important to gain knowledge and improve yourselves, right? That's really what it's about, to be able to, you know, sustain your family and provide opportunities for them. And if you're going to do that through attending college and earning a degree, then good. If you're going to do it through a different route, then that's totally fine too. It's just about, in my mind, one of the aspects is providing opportunities for our families. Hey, I got a thumbs up.
Mine didn't work, but Maria's accidental one did.
Oh, was that mine?
Was it? I
Yeah.
think it was yours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
For those of you that are just listening, we just did thumbs up and it put thumbs up emoji on the screen. Anyway, that's a good thought. So, kind of shifting a little bit. So, one of the things that I think is really important to do to help your children understand the importance of education is for them to see you reading and for you
Mhm.
to read to them when they're
Mhm.
younger, and then for you to encourage them to read
Yeah.
throughout. And every child's different. Some children don't
Yeah.
like to be read to. Some children don't like to read. In that case, they should just see you reading. I mean, that
Yeah.
makes a huge difference because things change, people change. I have two children. One of the children, does that sound, that's right. Yeah, one of the children um, loves to read and he will read forever. The other one wants to love to read, which is fantastic and
That's good.
amazing that she has that desire. She would never articulate that, but she does. And one of the ways we see this is she has a book that she kept on checking out from the library, and she would get like one page maybe a week that she'd get through it, but she'd want to recheck it out. So I
That
finally
sounds
just
like
bought
me.
yeah. So I finally bought her the book, and so now she doesn't have to worry about reading it before it's gone.
Yeah, that's
But
good.
she really wants to read it, and she's very interested in doing it, and she's trying to, despite any discouragement that she feels on
Mm,
with reading. And so I really like that. I think that that is a sign of a resilient child who wants to learn and wants to do better. I mean, there. So it's great for children who love to read and are very what's the word, proficient readers.
yeah,
But it's just as good for someone to want to be a proficient reader and for someone to want to. And in fact, in some ways, that's even more telling of character because you're doing hard things
yeah,
to try to meet your goals. So I think reading is huge. I don't know. I'm sure all of you have read to your children or read to your children right now. Does
yeah.
Luca like it when you read him bedtime stories?
Luca loves reading. I don't read him bedtime
I
stories
know.
anymore, but I do read to Eddie. Like Eddie would not go to bed unless we read him books,
Mm.
which is really, really awesome. And both Luca and Lydia, I just said their names. I think I
Oh, I
think
said,
that's fine. That's okay.
yeah, if you're okay with it.
Yeah, I'm fine. But they are both really, really good readers, and they're very proficient. They read above level, way above their level. And like yesterday, Luca texted me. He's like, "Hey, can you check out these two books for me from the library?" Um, and he does this very often. And Lydia goes to the library and she checks her own books
That's
out,
awesome.
and they read and read and read, and they love it. So that's
That's really good.
I love that about them because I don't think
Yeah.
that I read as much when I was their age.
I think that starts way early. You know, your kids are much older than my kids.
Yeah.
And with both of them, they love reading. And so we have a big, big, big collection of books. And there's always, throughout the day, we be at home preparing dinner or whatever, just hanging out. And they'll just go grab a book and bring it. And we read it a couple of times. And, bedtime, that's another time where we read a book. And what's really interesting is that, kids will have a book that they go through a phase where that's their book and that's the only one they want to read. And with our
But they
oldest
know it by
one,
heart.
Yeah.
yes, with the
Sometimes
oldest
I would read
one,
to Eddie and I would change the words and
yeah,
he'd be like, "No,
yeah,
you messed up.
exactly.
That's not
Well,
what
and
it
then
said."
sometimes later they pretend like they can read.
Yeah, so that's where we are right now. My oldest one, there's a couple books that she really likes, and I'll say like the first word on the page, and she'll just finish the whole thing, like
Yeah.
almost word by word. And it's really awesome because that just means that they truly love, listening to the story, and it's continued over time, right? So hopefully, I think for me, the challenge is as a parent is going to be to help my kids to maintain that interest and love for reading, right? As they get older, things change, people change, but hopefully that's the one thing that we can still work on as they get older.
That's great. In fact, we were talking about this before we started recording, Juan and I, about bedtime routines, and setting up routines is really helpful. Um, yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, I'm sure we could talk about this a lot more. Is there anything else really pressing that anybody wants to bring up about helping our children learn about the importance of education and educating them? Oh, I have something. Taking them to museums. That also piques interest, right? And helping them. In fact, even just exposing them to nature encourages
Yeah.
inquisitive thinking,
Hmm.
and that is the beginning of education.
Good
That's
thought.
right. Good
Yeah.
thought. Yeah.
And I haven't heard it both ways on that one. So, all right. Anything else, Maria? Anything else, Juan? We're good?
I think
I
we're
think we're
good.
good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining in. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast wherever podcasts can be found, and also check out our YouTube channel. I've heard it both ways, and you can watch us do our podcast and
You don't
see
have to. You
every
can just
time we
listen
make
to us.
funny faces. No, we want people to watch it, right?
Oh, we do. Yes, yes,
I don't
yes.
know. I'm
We
just
haven't made
saying.
any funny faces in this one, so I guess.
Oh, you made a few.
Oh.
Juan made like 3. I was
Did I?
counting
Oh,
the
no.
tally. Maria's at 37 funny faces.
37 in
Juan's
15
at
minutes.
3.
That's a record.
50 minutes. It's amazing.
That's pretty good.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
We'll catch you in the next one.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.